You know that feeling? You have this amazing, in-depth conversation with an AI assistant, you feel like you're finally getting somewhere, and then the next day, it has no idea who you are? It's kind of wild, right? These incredibly smart AIs can write code and poetry, but they have the memory of a goldfish. Well, today we're going to look at a new toolkit that's trying to fix that for good.
So what's actually happening here? Why are they so forgetful? You know, this digital amnesia is probably the single biggest thing holding AI agents back from being truly useful. Every single time you start a new chat, it's like introducing yourself to a stranger. It means they can't learn, they can't remember what you like, and they can't really become the personalized assistants we've all been hoping for.
And this really shows you the difference in a nutshell. Over on the left, that's the world we live in now, the stateless AI that repeats itself and starts from zero every single time. It's frustrating, but on the right, that's the promise of a tool like ReMe, an AI that's contextual, that actually learns and remembers your history, and that grows along with you.
Okay, let's get a little technical for a second. Why does this forgetfulness happen? Well, the folks behind ReMe point to two main culprits. First, there's this thing called a limited context window. Basically, in a really long chat, the AI literally runs out of room in its short-term memory and forgets what you talked about at the beginning. And second, you've got stateless sessions, which just means every new chat is a totally blank slate. And this is exactly the problem ReMe was designed to solve. I mean, look at the name, it's right there. Remember me, refine me. It's a whole toolkit built from the ground up to give these AI agents a real, persistent memory.
So what is it, really? At its heart, ReMe is a framework that gives developers two different ways to build a memory. There's a simple, file-based system and a more advanced vector-based one. The whole point is to finally give AI agents a long-term memory, so they can break out of that endless cycle of forgetting everything.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. ReMemo knows that not all memory is the same, so it offers two totally different approaches, and the creators have these great analogies for them. You could have an intelligent secretary or a specialized brain. Let's break down what that actually means.
First up, we've got the intelligent secretary. This is the file-based system. Now, instead of burying memories in some complex database you can't touch, ReMe just saves them as plain text Markdown files. This is a total game changer. It means you, the human, can literally open up the AI's memory, read it, even edit it if you want. And if you want to move its memory to a new machine, you just copy the files. It's so simple and so transparent. All right, so the second flavor is the specialized brain. This is the vector-based system, and it's much more structured. It actually sorts memories into different categories. You've got personal memory for things like your preferences and habits. Then there's task memory, so it remembers how to do things it's done before. And finally, tool memory, so it knows how its own tools work. It's all about organized, efficient recall.
So this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like when you use it? Let's take a look at a real-world example. Remerkly. It's a command line assistant that uses these exact memory systems to be a genuinely helpful long-term partner. So key question is, when does the AI decide to save a memory? And the cool thing is, it's a mix of automatic and manual control. If a conversation just gets too long, ReMe will automatically save things to memory. But you can also take control yourself with a command. And even better, sometimes the agent itself is smart enough to say, hey, this seems important, and will proactively save that info on its own.
All right, now for the fun part. Let's peek under the hood and look at the secret sauce. How does ReMe actually manage all this information so well? It really comes down to two key innovations that make the whole system tick.
The first really brilliant idea is something they call context compaction. And the best analogy for this is meeting minutes. You know how after a long meeting, you don't need a transcript of every single word. You just need the main points, the decisions, the action items. Well, that's exactly what context compaction does for an AI conversation. And here's how that process works. It's actually pretty simple. You start with that long, rambling conversation history. Then, ReMe's compactor goes to work and boils it all down to a tight, concise summary. That new, shorter summary becomes the starting point for your next interaction, which frees up a ton of memory while keeping all the important stuff.
Okay, so that's how it keeps conversations from getting too long. But what about finding the right memory when you need it? For that, ReMe uses another clever trick called hybrid search. It doesn't just rely on one method, it actually combines two different types of search to get the absolute best of both worlds.
So here's how that hybrid search works. On one side, you've got something called vector search. This is amazing at understanding meaning and context. You can ask for that discussion we had about the deployment, and it'll get what you mean. Then, on the other side, you have good old-fashioned keyword search, or BM25, which is perfect for finding an exact match, like a file name. ReMe uses both at the same time.
And it's not just a 50-50 split. The system is weighted. It relies pretty heavily on that meaning-based vector search that gets a 70% weight. But it keeps the precise keyword search around at 30% to make sure it can still find those exact matches. Fusing them together like this means you get great results whether your question is super specific or a little vague.
You know, this quote from the project's documentation just says it all. ReMe gives agents real memory. Old conversations are automatically condensed. Important information is persisted, and the next conversation can recall it automatically. It's not just about storing stuff. It's about making memory an automatic, intelligent, and truly useful part of the process.
And that really brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? Technology like this moves us away from these one-off transactional chats and toward a future where we can have actual long-term relationships with our AI tools. So I'll just leave you with this one thought. What could you build if your AI never, ever forgot?